ready to unpack some of the chatter around AI and how it's changing the game for software development.
Oh, yeah. It's a topic everyone's talking about, right?
It is, it is. And there's been this kind of spicy Slashdot article going around.
Uh-oh, spicy, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. A lot of folks in the comments, weighing in on the whole thing.
Sounds like the perfect material for a deep dive, then.
Exactly, exactly. So the article basically makes this bold claim, right? That, new junior developers can't actually code.
Whoa, okay, so jumping right into the deep end with that title.
Right, and I think for anyone who's either learning to code right now or maybe they work with junior developers, it's like, whoa, hold on, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So let's break it down a little bit. What are they getting at with this claim?
So the article's core argument is, while junior devs are getting really good at using these AI assistants, like GitHub, Copilot, Claude, all the cool tools, they're pumping out code really quickly. But they're maybe potentially missing some of that fundamental understanding of how things work, the why behind the code.
So it's like building a house, but you don't really understand the blueprints or the plumbing or something like that.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. They can build a house, but they don't know, the load-bearing walls.
Yeah.
And the article's highlighting a few things that are making people kind of nervous. For example, they mentioned this decline of Stack Overflow, potentially.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Stack Overflow, for me, when I was starting out, countless hours on Stack Overflow was the Bible.
Right.
So is that really changing? Have things really changed that much?
Well, it's not just AI, right? Coding's evolving, the tools are better, documentation's often better, and maybe the problems are different. But it does make you wonder if those detailed answers on Stack Overflow, if junior devs aren't digging into that, are they missing out on something?
Right. Yeah, some of those answers were pretty dense.
Oh,
but you learn a lot, going through them and actually understanding why a particular solution works.
for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes the comments were more helpful than the answer itself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So it is a bit, kind of a doom and gloom picture they paint.
Yeah.
But the comments,
Oh, yeah. Tons of comments on this article, and it's all over the map.
It is, and I think that's what makes this conversation so interesting, right?
Yeah.
There's no single right answer.
Yeah.
We're seeing all these different experiences, opinions, which probably is more realistic than any one article can really capture.
Yeah, for sure. So one comment that stood out to me, someone with the username Zach3056, they were basically saying, look, this is nothing new. Junior devs have always struggled with some of the core concepts, and it's more of an education problem than an AI problem.
Right, and they use the very relatable, classic interview question, what is an API?
Oh, yeah.
And how would you use it?
Yeah.
And they claim to have gotten blank stares from junior devs for years before AI was even, a glimmer in someone's eye.
Right. So are we blaming the shiny new tool when the underlying issue might be something a little bit more fundamental?
It's a good point, right?
Yeah.
But then you have other folks who are like, whoa, not so fast.
Yeah.
There was, I Can Read, I believe, was their username. They
That's
said,
right.
my team's junior devs are amazing. Maybe it's a hiring issue or, even a compensation issue.
Mm-hmm.
Are we attracting the best? Are we paying enough? Are we providing the right training? All those kinds of things.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it makes you, wonder as a junior developer, where do you fit in all this? Is it the tools? Is it the training? Or is it something totally different?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the ever subtle I am way smarter than you chiming in with, well, if they can't code, why did you hire them?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So basically saying the problem is with the hiring process itself.
Right, exactly. And I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
If companies are worried about a lack of certain skills, are they actually testing for those?
Right.
Or are they just assuming that, if someone can produce code, then, they're good to go?
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting because it kind of gets to the heart of how AI is changing things, right?
It does.
Because if AI is helping people produce code faster, does that mean we need to actually reevaluate how we assess those skills? Do we need to look deeper, not just at the ability to generate something, that functions, but really, really understand it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think, we have a lot of different opinions here. And what I'm hearing is it's probably not as simple as AI is making junior developers bad. It's a lot of things, right? It's education, it's hiring practices, it's the way things are changing, maybe AI is playing a role. It's a big mix. It's a stew.
It is a stew, and everyone's coming to this conversation with their own biases, their own experiences, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a junior developer who just landed their dream job is going to have a very different view of all of this than, a seasoned engineer who's seen, a lot of junior developers come and go over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's not forget the company's perspective, too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They're trying to build stuff. They're trying to ship features, stay competitive.
Right.
AI can seem like a really tempting solution to that age-old problem of, like, we need more developers and we need them now.
Yes. Yesterday.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got all these different viewpoints. We've sort of acknowledged, it's complicated. There's no easy answer here. But let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
We've kind of looked at the Slashdot article and the comments, and it seems like there are some, potential downsides to these AI assistants. But are there upsides too? Like, could it actually be good, especially for people just starting out in their careers?
That's a great point. Like, maybe AI can actually help junior devs learn faster, come up to speed, and even tackle harder problems than they could before.
Right.
It's all about how we use these tools and how we integrate them into the whole process of learning and growing as a developer.
Okay. So now that we've sort of laid out the landscape, looked at the different arguments and acknowledged, it's messy.
It is messy.
Where do we go from here? Like, what are some potential solutions to these challenges? How do we make sure that junior developers are building a solid foundation while still being able to, use the cool new tools?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And that's where we're heading next. We'll dig into some of the ideas from the comments and beyond and really try to connect it back to, you, the listener.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah. How does this all impact your learning journey, if you're learning, or how you work with other developers if you're, in a leadership role?
Absolutely. So much to unpack there. Stay tuned.
Sweet suit.
Okay, so we've talked about the concerns, kind of debated whether AI is a friend or foe for junior devs. But let's get practical, right? Like, what can we actually do about all this?
That's the real question, right? Like, it's fun to debate and think about the theory, but ultimately, we need some solutions. And thankfully, there are some good ideas out there.
Okay, so where do we start? Like, it seems like AI coding assistants are here to stay.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure they're helping junior devs, level up their skills instead of holding them back?
Well, one thing that keeps coming up is education.
Yeah.
Like, how are we teaching coding in this new age of AI?
Right.
Imagine if, computer science courses actually taught you not just the fundamentals of programming, but how to use these AI tools effectively while still learning that deep understanding.
Oh, that would be amazing. So instead of it being a crutch or like a shortcut, it actually becomes part of the learning process.
Right.
Yeah. Helps you understand the tougher concepts, write better code. Like, I wish I had that when I was starting out.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And this goes beyond formal education, too. Companies could do a lot here. Like, what if they had specific training programs that taught junior developers how to use AI assistants responsibly, ethically?
Yeah.
So they're not just copying and pasting without actually getting it,
Right. It's about empowering them to use these tools to their advantage.
Exactly. And it's not just about the how, but the what, too. Maybe we need to change what we're actually teaching.
Okay.
Like, put less emphasis on just memorizing syntax or, algorithms, and more on critical thinking, problem solving, breaking down complex tasks.
Those are skills that you need no matter what, right? Like, no matter what the tools are.
Absolutely. And that's the stuff that AI can't really replicate, at least not yet. Those are the things that separate a really good developer from someone who's just, putting lines of code together with the help of an AI.
Right. So we've got some ideas for education, training, but what about the companies that are hiring these junior devs? Like, if they're worried about a skills gap, shouldn't they be changing how they hire people too?
Oh, absolutely. That's huge. We can't just put it all in schools or the developers themselves.
Right.
Companies need to be part of the solution too.
So what would that look like? Like, how do you actually create a hiring process that tests for understanding, not just, the ability to use AI?
Well, maybe we need to move away from those traditional coding tests that, could be easily manipulated with the help of AI and focus more on, how a candidate thinks, how they solve problems, how they communicate, Can they explain their code? Can they handle, curveballs? Can they work well with others?
Right. So it's like we talked about before. It's about looking beyond just the surface and really assessing, do they actually get it? Like the principles behind it all.
Exactly. And maybe that means bringing back those, explain your code questions.
Oh, yeah. I remember those.
It's not just does it work,
Yeah.
but like, can you articulate why it works, how you got there?
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Especially, when you think about AI potentially generating code that's technically correct, but maybe not the best approach or not really understanding the bigger picture. But let's be realistic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, companies are under pressure to ship, ship, ship.
Right.
Are they really going to slow down to make sure everyone's got, this deep, deep understanding?
It's a valid concern. I think it gets at a bigger cultural issue in software development.
Yeah.
The tension between speed and quality. And AI just amplifies it.
Yeah, yeah. So how do we push back against that whole, move fast and break things mentality?
It starts with leadership, I think.
Okay.
If companies prioritize just shipping, 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 that's what they're going to get.
Yeah.
But if leaders actually understand the value of well-written code, code that's maintainable, even if it takes a bit longer to get there, that sets a different tone.
So we need leaders who are willing to invest in training, in mentoring, in creating a culture that values, quality.
Yes. It's about recognizing that, taking the time to develop junior devs is an investment. It's an investment in the company and the future of the industry.
Right, right.
But it's also about how we measure success, right? Like, maybe it's not just about how fast we can crank out new features.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about how good that code is, how long it lasts, how much it helps the developers grow.
Right. It's like that saying, measure what matters. If we're just measuring speed, then everyone's going to focus on speed. But if we start measuring things like, code quality, maintainability, how quickly developers are leveling up, then those things become more important.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, we have to remember software is made by people for people. And if we want to create good software, we need to invest in those people, not just technically, but in those soft skills that are becoming more and more important.
Soft skills? Like, what are we talking about here?
Things like communication, collaboration, problem solving, critical thinking, even creativity. These are the things that help developers work well together, understand the users, come up with innovative solutions.
So it's not just about writing code, it's about understanding the bigger picture, like the human context where that code's going to live.
Exactly. And again, those are skills AI can't really replicate, at least not yet. They're the things that will keep humans in the game, even as AI gets more and more advanced.
It's almost like a shift in mindset, right?
Yeah.
Both for developers and the companies, moving away from thinking of software as just this purely technical thing.
Absolutely. It's a creative process. It's collaborative. It's ultimately human.
Okay, so we've talked about education, hiring, company culture, how the nature of software development's changing. Seems like there's no easy answers here. But I think what I'm taking away is that AI isn't necessarily the bad guy. It's a tool. And like any tool, it can be used, for good or bad.
It's all about how we choose to use it. And I think all these things we've talked about, education, hiring, fostering that culture of quality, remembering the human skills, those are all steps in the right direction.
Right. It sounds like we need to find that balance.
Yeah.
Embrace the power of AI. But don't forget about those core human skills that make this field so interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that balance is going to be key as things keep changing, as they always do. But before we get too excited about solutions, let's take a second to acknowledge there's a lot of uncertainty out there.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about how AI might change coding, hiring, how we think about the whole process. But what if it goes even further? Like, what if AI gets so good it can basically do the whole thing by itself?
Whoa, okay, now we're getting into some serious sci-fi territory here.
We are.
But I mean, is that even a possibility? And if it is, what happens to all of us, the people who work in software or are thinking about it as a career?
That's the question we're going to tackle in the last part of our deep dive.
We'll look at, what happens if we have these truly autonomous AI developers. What skills will humans need to thrive in that kind of world?
Oh, okay. You've really got me hooked now.
Yeah.
Listeners, don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon to explore the future of coding in the age of, I guess, ultra-intelligent AI.
Welcome back. So last time, we ended on this, crazy question, right? What if AI becomes so good at coding that it basically becomes like a fully independent developer?
Yeah, it's the kind of question that gets everyone talking. Even the experts are kind of divided on this. Some people think we're decades away from that level of AI. Others think it's right around the corner.
Okay, well, so let's just say, for argument's sake, that AI does reach that point. It can design, write, test, deploy software all on its own. What does that actually mean for the humans who work in software or people who are thinking about a career in tech?
It's easy to think, oh, well, that's it for human developers, right? But I think it's a little more complicated than that. I mean, if you look at history, whenever there's been some big technological change, yes, some jobs get displaced, but it also creates whole new opportunities that, weren't even there before.
So are you saying that even if AI could do a lot of the coding, like the everyday stuff, humans would still be needed, but maybe for like specialized skills?
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
I think we'd see a big demand for developers who can do the things AI isn't so good at, like really complex system design, or understanding what users actually need, how they feel, or even thinking about the ethical side of using AI to build software.
So instead of writing code all day, humans would be more like setting the goals for the AI, making sure it aligns with human values, what we actually need the software to do.
Right. It's possible we see all these new roles emerge, like AI architect, someone who basically designs the system and the AI fills in the details,
Mhm.
or even AI ethicist, making sure the AI isn't building biased software or doing things that could have like unintended consequences.
Wow, those sound like really interesting jobs, but also pretty intense. Like, what kind of background would you even need to prepare for something like that?
That's a great question. I think it really points to how we might need to rethink how we train developers. Maybe instead of just teaching people to code, we need to help them develop like a whole set of skills. Imagine programs that combine computer science with like psychology, ethics, design thinking, maybe even philosophy.
Whoa, so you're talking about like a totally new kind of developer, someone who's not just technical, but also understands the impact of their work, like on society?
Yeah. It's exciting to think about, even if it's a little bit scary too, right? And I don't think it's just about new job titles. This shift could change how everyday developers work too. Imagine working alongside an AI, like it's your coding buddy, helping you think through problems, suggesting code, even catching bugs before they become a big deal.
That would be pretty amazing. But how do you make sure you're still learning and growing as a developer if the AI is doing so much? Like, wouldn't you risk becoming kind of, I don't know, complacent or maybe even losing some of your skills?
I think that's where those soft skills, those human skills we talked about become even more important. Things like being able to think critically, solve problems, communicate well, and collaborate with others. Those are the things that'll make human developers really valuable, even in a world where AI can do so much.
So it's not just about learning to code, it's about learning how to learn.
Exactly. And how to adapt. Those are skills you need in any field, not just software development.
That's a good point. I mean, it seems like this whole conversation about AI and coding is really a bigger conversation about like the future of work in general.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one part of this huge transformation that's happening everywhere, right?
Right.
And being able to adapt, stay curious, think critically, be willing to learn new things, those are going to be the keys to navigating it all.
This deep dive has been quite the journey. We started talking about junior devs and if they can code, and now we're talking about the future of work and AI changing everything.
It is amazing how these conversations can just unfold. You start in one place and end up somewhere completely different.
It really is. So before we wrap up, what's the one thing you really want listeners to take away from all of this?
I think the most important thing is to be curious, to be open to learning, and to be willing to adapt. Technology is changing so fast, and AI is only going to make it go faster. But that's not a bad thing. It's a chance to rethink how we work, how we learn, how we imagine the future.
That's a great way to put it. Well, thanks so much for joining us on this incredible exploration of AI and software development.
It's been my pleasure.
And for everyone listening, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those big questions. The future's out there, and who knows, you might be the one who shapes it.